Well, happy Juneteenth Freedom Day. Here on Stay in the Water, we're continuing our Commonwealth Conversation series about Juneteenth. There's a lot of celebration going on, but what does it mean? Past, present, and future. It's Stay in the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville. We'll be right back in just a moment. Welcome back. It's Stay in the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville. We want to thank you for joining us again on this Sunday, which is Juneteenth Day and also Father's Day. So we've got a great show for you today, and we want to again thank all of our listeners, our supporters, as we broadcast live on the campus of the Norfolk State University on Hot 91, the soul of VA in the great area of Hampton Roads, the world-class city of Norfolk. We thank also our producer who's in the studio that keeps us right and tight, known as DJ Scandalous Marvin Folks, that you can hear on this station live every Monday through Friday from 2 to 6 p.m. And we wouldn't be with who we are without the support of the Spartan Nation, some of the greatest alumni and students in faculty in the world. So, like I said, today is Juneteenth Day, Freedom Day, and we've been having this conversation series with rock stars in this area, historians, individuals that are leading historical areas that are important, not just to African Americans, but to America and really to the world. And we've got individuals right here on this show. There were great celebrations going on. They're going to tell us what's happening in the great Hampton Roads area. But before I do, again, I'd like to wish all of the fathers out there a happy Father's Day. Let me tell you, I love Mother's Day. But it's nothing like Father's Day. You know, it's nothing like having your father in your life, whether he raised you from the very beginning, whether you reestablish a relationship with him when you're older, or even in my case, we buried our father a couple of months ago. But those memories that we have of 80 plus years live with us till this day. So once again, happy Father's Day to all of the fathers out there. And thank you to my sons, Ian and Ethan, and my beautiful wife, Michelle, for a wonderful Father's Day that you guys have given me today. So happy Father's Day to you once again. I love this day. But you know what I love, Marvin? I love Juneteenth because it is a phenomenal part of our history. And finally, it's getting the recognition that it is due. Now, I grew up with Juneteenth celebrations all through my life, from school and through church and so forth. But now the world is understanding Juneteenth. And little by little, you're understanding more about the history, and also we have great celebrations that are taking place in order to highlight this. So with us today on the first half hour of the show, we have Ms. Latisha James, the Executive Vice President of External Affairs and Operation of the Urban League of Hampton Roads. Ms. James, thank you so much for joining us here on State of the Water.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Claville. I appreciate it so much to have a chance to talk about what the Urban League is doing. But I'd love to wish you happy Father's Day as well, and all of your listeners, and also express my condolences about the loss of your father.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. And listen, you know, when you came aboard, the Urban League has always been a staple in our community. But the work that you guys are doing the last half decade has been tremendous. And one of those things that you guys have been doing to get information out there is this Juneteenth celebration, right? So we've been talking about Juneteenth. And right now the Urban League of Hampton Roads is part of the Juneteenth Freedom Day, which is going to be in Portsmouth today, actually, from 1 to 9 p.m. But so I want you to tell us why. I mean, there's so many things that the Urban League does, right? I mean, you're a staple along with the NAACP and other historical civil rights groups. So you have your hands full. I know you do. But why Juneteenth?
Well, the obvious answer is, the Urban League of Hampton Roads is part of one of the oldest national civil rights organizations in the country. We are one of 90 affiliates across the country that's under the umbrella of the National Urban League. And as you said, there was the NAACP that was created first, followed by the National Urban League. And our mission, which hasn't changed over 100 years, is to ensure that we empower African Americans and others to enter the economic and social mainstream with equity and power and civil rights. So it just makes sense for us to be part of not just educating our community about the relevance and importance of Juneteenth, but also creating opportunities to uplift our Black community and our Black businesses and our Black organizations to, at the end of the day, what we are trying to do is improve economic equality and sustainability for the Black community. So Juneteenth for us is an example of providing that to the region.
When we talk about African-American upward mobility, we always land on civil rights. Of course, the right to vote is very important. Education is very important. Housing is very important. But what gets left out of the conversation, and you hit on it, was economics, right? Being able to get a piece of the pie and be able to grow your independent business, but also participate in the larger American capitalism of economics that we have in our country. Some of the best corporations in the world has ever seen, being some of the participating in some of the greatest banking institutions we've ever had in our world. Why is the economics, do you feel, from your viewpoint, left out for African Americans, and why is it so hard for us to access that part, to crack that ceiling?
Yeah, I mean, it starts at the beginning of, why the National Urban League was created. I mean, economic self-reliance and equity is the core of the mission. And we call it a movement. This is a national movement that remains a priority for the African American community because we have not seen any significant changes, unfortunately, for a long time. And it is our role, and we feel it's our number one priority, in that all of the programs and services that we provide to the community that are free is about economic equity and stability. So it's our responsibility, we believe, to remain in conversations and have a seat at the table, create a seat at the table, to have conversations that change policies, that creates opportunity for economic access for not only people and employment, but also our businesses, our entrepreneurs. The racial wealth gap exists in really all of the core pillar programs that we offer. And as you said, we address it through our pillar programs of education, employment, entrepreneurship, finances, health, and housing. And if you are not strong economically, everything else follows, right? So that remains, like I said, our priority for the Urban League of Hampton Roads, but again, is the priority for all the affiliates and the National Urban League.
Absolutely. So you've been a major staple in this area pushing economic development.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing about Juneteenth is that, we received our freedom, but one of the larger conversations, again, we left out was giving newly freed slaves the opportunity to capitalize on their hard work. What are some of the examples or some of the things that you're doing to provide those services to African Americans even today?
Mm-hmm. One of the first areas that I think about in terms of closing the racial wealth gap, first, of course, begins with employment. The income that you make really dictates your ability to own a home, or to have the funds to not just own a home or rent, but, the ability to purchase foods and all of the things that many people may take for granted. But if you don't have not just a living wage, but a good salary with good benefits, and really, to be honest, they should be great salaries and great benefits, health care, retirement. That is something that we take as a priority for the Urban League. We know that people come to us on a regular basis. We have counselors who help people with their finances. And usually when they come to us seeking employment opportunities, the two go hand in hand. We take a look at what their current income is. And when you are trying to improve your finances, we treat the whole person, right? You may come through the door of the Urban League seeking better employment, but we look at the whole picture of where a person is in their life and what are their goals. So not only do we help with employment opportunities with the great network and relationships that we have throughout the region, but we also look at what are their financial goals and helping them to improve their credit, helping them to establish better savings, helping them to become banked. A lot of the people that we serve in the community are from under-resourced and underserved populations and communities. And some of our members, are not banked, right? So helping them establish banking accounts with a lot of our financial partners. And then when we are able to provide services like that improves their employment opportunities, that improves their financial opportunities, then that also helps them, as I said, when we look at the full client needs, they then can become a great candidate for becoming a first-time home buyer. And we know that one of the greatest ways to close the racial wealth gap, too, is the assets that being a homeowner can provide, and that's general wealth changing opportunities. So we help people from beginning to end. We walk them through the process of becoming a first-time homeowner. It's not just about, being aware of the real estate opportunities, but we educate people. We want them to know what you're getting into, and we engage them throughout the entire process of meeting with realtors and understanding, all of the documentation and what you're signing. And I'm very, very, very proud of our HUD certified team who do amazing work led by Anita Carey and Ernest Rowland and Anita Elmore. It's a great team. They've created so many, hundreds of new homeowners in the Hampton Roads region. So I'm very proud of the work that we are doing in that space of really all of our services, free, open to the community, but dedicated to closing the racial wealth gap.
It's State of the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville. For the entire month of June, we're continuing our Commonwealth series conversation about Juneteenth. It is one of the most important holidays and time periods in African Americans' lives, but also in the fabric of America. With us today, we have the Executive Vice President of the Urban League of Hampton Roads that's with us, Latisha James, that's talking to us about the role that the Urban League is playing today in furthering the dream of Juneteenth and really pushing economic upward mobility. You mentioned home ownership, and one thing that immediately I started thinking about is, number one, your home is the biggest financial asset that you'll have, right? An individual, the average person will have in their lifetime. Mm-hmm. Secondly, how now African Americans are being left out of this housing market and thereby not capitalizing on the boom of equity in these homes. And again, it just kind of brings to light the historical implications of, being promised something for African Americans, but it's not really materializing. I know a lot of students with student loans are thinking about that now. Oh, student loan forgiveness if you elect me. But now, we're thinking about it. We don't know if we can do it or not. So with that, when you see that gap, when you see that inequity, what does that actually do to you to help galvanize and kind of help to level the playing field?
We're inspired by it because that for us is, it means we have a lot of work to do. But again, I appreciate this platform because it's an opportunity for me to actually share the tremendous amount of work that our small team is doing on a monthly basis. We partner with our local community-based organizations. We partner with our faith-based organizations, and we've partnered with Norfolk State University, your Center for African American Public Policy. We are actually we will be hosting some housing workshops and rental, knowing your rights for rental properties, but primarily our focus will be later this summer is to educate Norfolk State University students, staff, and community to understand what their opportunities are to become a homeowner and to become qualified and successfully purchase their first home. So we're very excited about that and the research that you all will be doing through your center and led in particular by Dr. Goler. So we're very excited. But I do want to really make you aware, if you are interested, if your listeners are interested in learning how to be part of, like you said, gaining one of the best assets that, you can have and changing the trajectory of your financial future, please come, learn more, visit our website, Urban League of Hampton Roads, ulhr.org, and our housing program, again, is led by Onita Carey. And we are providing presentations throughout the month on a regular basis. They're typically held on Saturdays because we recognize people, have commitments Monday through Friday. So we have found that usually Saturdays work best in all parts of the community. And if you're interested in hosting, if someone is interested in hosting a housing workshop, we will come to you as well.
Wow.
But this is a top priority for us. All of our initiatives, not just housing, but also education, really all of our, the program services that I discussed, because of the huge disparities, the racial disparities that exist, particularly within the Black community, it is our mission in all that we do to close the racial wealth gap that exists. So we are small. We're a small team of 15 people, but mighty, and we rely heavily upon the extensive partnerships that we have in the community so that what we're doing is increasing access to the community who've been marginalized for years, right? But it's our role to remove those barriers and help people get to where they'd like to be.
Absolutely. The Urban League of Hampton Roads, small but mighty, helping to bring the dream of Juneteenth alive with economic upper mobility home ownership. I want us to shift to what's going on today. So I want us to kind of merge what we see from the past and what you're doing to help create that dream to what you're doing to sell a fact while we're on air. As a matter of fact, at High Street Landing, there is Juneteenth Freedom Day. What's going on there?
Well, it is a celebration, as you said, of Freedom Day, and, all of Hampton Roads is coming together. But our biggest partner is the city of Portsmouth, who have just been amazing to open their city to us. And, if your listeners are available, please join us. Come down to High Street Landing, and you will have the opportunity to meet with, I think we have about 35 community organizations.
Organizations, businesses. Matter of fact, I'm looking now, and people have been talking about it for a while, and they're excited about this lineup that you guys have. Now, I'm going to let you talk about the businesses, but I want to look at the talent. So the talent from the 757, musicians, comedians, spoken word poets, who's recording artist Blackstreet from this area as well, performing at 7 p.m., all at High Street Landing.
That's right. It's a full-blown out schedule, as you said. It's hosted by Cabana Black and DJ Rick G's. But I do have to give recognition also to Hot 91, Norfolk State. You guys have been great partners to us in promoting the event. And you guys will actually be present. You are present for the event. And your DJ, Scandalous, believe it or not, is going to be introducing our headliner, Blackstreet.
Absolutely.
He has a mentoring relationship with them.
Yes. As a matter of fact, you mentioned the partnership with Hot 91. I mean, we've been out there in the community, really pushing hard, doing phenomenal things. And our producer, DJ Scanlon's, actually 757 talent, who himself, came up under Teddy Riley, perform Street and with them, produced and so forth. So, like you said, it's amazing, what we have here, right here in Hampton Roads. So he's excited because as soon as the show's over with, he's headed out there to make sure that he hooks up with his old friends and introduce Blackstreet to everybody that's there. Ms. James, you mentioned, the business. We talked about the talent. But one thing that's what else is out there, is good. We're going to have fun. We're going to celebrate this day here on the South Side. We've got a celebration on the North Side of Newport News. We're going to talk about that in the second half hour. But you also mentioned some businesses that are there. What are some of the businesses that are there, and what can some of our listeners and those that are coming out can anticipate?
Thank you, and forgive me. And my coughing, I am the residuals of COVID.
Absolutely.
Being fully vaccinated is coughing, so forgive me.
No, you're fine. Absolutely. Listen, COVID, you guys were also at the very forefront of COVID and vaccination because, again, it's out there, and it was really hard on our community. And a lot of organizations stepped up, and you guys were one of them. So we appreciate the work that you guys are doing, not just in the community economic-wise, but even on the healthcare side. Because if you're not healthy, you can't you can't enjoy the great things and great economic things and things that are going on. So we really extremely appreciate the work that you guys are doing on the healthcare side as well. Yes,
I'm fully vaccinated. And did recently, receive COVID. And it's just a reflection of how contagious this, disease is or illness. And one of the priorities that we do is make sure that members of our community have access to great health care. And we recognize that everyone does not have insurance or are underinsured. So we come to where the community needs are. And so the first Wednesday of each month, we are hosting vaccine outreach and COVID testing with our medical partners, Riverside, the Virginia Department of Health, Centera, and many community-based organizations to provide these services for free. So, it's real, and I encourage your listeners to come out if you're not vaccinated or need to be tested. But to get back to the question that you asked, yes, we have a lot of great talent, local talent, that we are celebrating. And again, we believe that that is an important platform for us, is to increase awareness of the amazing talents of our Black community. We have a lot of young artists who are going to be performing all day and culminating, like you said, with Black Street. We have a lot of businesses that are going to be present and hiring. So if you are looking for a new career, and not just a new career, but career opportunities that are great paying positions with excellent health care benefits and retirement, High Street Landing is where you ought to be, because a lot of our partners are looking for great talent. So it's not just a celebration for Juneteenth, but again, it really is about bringing our partners together to, again, remove barriers for our community so that you can have immediate access to all of those programs and services that I had mentioned earlier. They will all be in one location for Juneteenth. And it is presented by Geico, as well as in partnership with many other sponsors like Riverside and Norfolk State University.
Absolutely. Everybody, that's Latisha James, Executive Vice President, External Affairs and Operation of the Urban League of Hampton Roads. That is today from 1 to 9 p.m., Juneteenth Freedom Day, Urban League of Hampton Roads, in conjunction with others, Riverside, also Norfolk State University, WNSB, and other businesses and entities are supporting this celebration of Juneteenth. And it's at High Street Landing. So if you're on this side, over on the south side, High Street Landing, Portsmouth, Virginia, go over, enjoy the festivities, go over, enjoy the talent, go over, enjoy the musicians, the comedians, the spoken word, go over and enjoy the information from the businesses that are there. Because, again, this is part of our celebration, part of our history, part of our future. And the Urban League of Hampton Roads is at the forefront of helping to make that so. Ms. James, thank you so much for joining us here on Stay the Water. And for all of you, make sure you stay tuned, because we'll be right back. Because in the second half hour, we have the Vice Mayor of the City of Newport News, Dr. Saundra Cherry, as we talk about Juneteenth in Newport News and the celebration that's going on there. This is Dr. Eric Claville, Stay the Water. We'll be right back in one moment. Welcome back, everyone. This is Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville. We want to thank you again for joining us on this phenomenal June 19th, this Juneteenth Freedom Day, and also Father's Day. Let me tell you, these are two of my most favorite holidays that I just absolutely love. Number one, I love being a father. And again, I'd like to thank our sons, Ian and Ethan Claville, and my wife, Michelle, for making that dream come true. For me to become a father is one of the greatest joys of my life. So happy Father's Day to all of you. And also, this is the very first Father's Day that I'm having without my father. My brothers and sisters, we buried our father a couple of months ago, and this is our first Father's Day without him. But we thank God for the 80-plus years of memories and leadership and love that he gave to us, and all those many blessings. So, Dad, we love you. Thank you so much for everything. And again, happy Father's Day to everyone that is out there. But today is also Juneteenth. So, for the entire month of June, we're continuing our Commonwealth Conversation series to talk about this very important holiday and very important time period in our nation's history. And, we we grew up with Juneteenth celebrations, in our neighborhood, in our community. And also, we see now where Juneteenth is finally getting its recognition. It's a holiday here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's not a national holiday just yet, but we're pushing to make sure that that happens. But also, today we have two cities here in the great area, Hampton Roads. We talked about Portsmouth in the first half hour, but on the peninsula, in the great city of Newport News, my city, where I live, we have my good friend, my sister, the vice mayor of the city of Newport News, Dr. Saundra, who is spearheading the Juneteenth celebration in our great city. Dr. Cherry, vice mayor, welcome to Stay in the Water.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Claville, for allowing me to come with you on the airwaves today to talk about Juneteenth. It's a special holiday for us in the city of Newport News. So I thank you for this opportunity.
We've been talking all month about Juneteenth, the importance of it, past, present, and future. One thing about Juneteenth, it's a day that commemorates and celebrates the end of slavery in the United States, even though President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation in January 1863. We know that on June 19th, 1865, it wasn't until the last enslaved brothers and sisters in the state of Texas heard the word and were actually free. So about 2.5 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation and approximately 2.5 months at the end of the Civil War, we finally had every last person in our country that were enslaved no more enslaved. So that's the past. Tell us, there's so much that you do. You're a councilwoman. You've served your community in the south side of east end of Newport News, and you're serving the city as vice mayor. So you've got a lot going on. You've got a lot going on and a lot of great things that you've done in your career as a public servant. Why Juneteenth? Why pick up this mantle and run with it?
Thank you. My husband, the late Gregory Cherry, was working with actually the city with the Newsom House years ago for first Emancipation Day. And then they started working on trying to have a Juneteenth celebration. So we actually started it in 2006. Then he started an organization called the Downtown Newport News Merchants and Neighbors Association. And this became the specific signature event for the association starting actually in 2006 and 2007. And so we only had a Juneteenth Freedom Festival for many, many years. And we tried to do that on the day that was closest to June 19th to just try to have a festival to invite people from the community to come in and just have this sense of camaraderie. The theme since 2006 has been unity in the community, and that still stands as our theme today. And so we have just carried it forth from the past to the present right now, and prayerfully that it will become even greater, not only for the city of Newport News, but throughout this whole country.
You mentioned your late husband, who was a major force in pushing history and bringing it to the forefront in Newport News, and also with a famous house that you continue to renovate and have great programs there. Tell us about that house that's there.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Eric. The house that you're speaking of is called the James A. Fields House. And actually, James A. Fields was a runaway slave during the Civil War.
That's right.
Actually coming from Hanover County. He was part of the Underground Railroad Trail, and he actually took refuge at Freedom Fortress at Fort Monroe in Hampton, Virginia. And so the Fields House was one of 15 properties that he purchased after the Civil War was over and freed from slavery. And so the house is significant because, as my husband was a historian, he found out that it was the site of the first black hospital that was started in Newport News. So before there were 4 doctors that petitioned the Fields family, who actually lived in this residence in 1908 to start this first hospital. Before blacks were seen at this particular location, they had to be seen at the city jail. And so basically it was like a triage. And so the house is set up in that same vein. Mrs. Margaret Fields Johnson, the late Margaret Fields Johnson, was the granddaughter of James Apostle Fields. And so when Gregory was trying to find out how old the house was, he began to research the archives. And he found out that James Apostle Fields was in the first graduating class of Hampton University. So that in itself was exciting. And then Ms. Margaret said, well, he was so smart, and he even went to Howard School of Law and became an attorney. And so the house has its significance, and it is listed on the Virginia Register of Historic Places for its significance as being the first black hospital started in the city of Newport News in 1908.
Wow. From the moment that we met, we talked about the Fields House. And from the moment I walked in it and started learning that history, I was even floored, because when you talk about Juneteenth, when you talk about the Emancipation Proclamation, James A. Fields represented what Juneteenth was supposed to bring.
Truly.
He was a Renaissance man. He was a lawyer. He was not just a lawyer, but he was also a statesman. And he was an entrepreneur, a business owner. You said the Fields House, which is located, and again, it's amazing we have this history in our area. Everywhere you walk, there's like great history. But, that was one of 15 properties that he purchased, a newly freed slave.
Yes, it was one of 15, and we have the documentation of that, and so that's why we're really excited, because when Gregory met Miss Margaret Fields Johnson, he purchased the house for $1 from the city, because at that time the city was going through some redevelopment, and they had no idea of the significance of this house and the historical perspective of this house. And so he purchased it from the city for $1 under a development agreement, and under that agreement he had to live in it as his residence for 5 years. He had to have it rehabbed for residency, and he also had to have it financed within 30 days. And so he was able to do all of that, but it was in doing all of that that he found out that this house was historical. And Ms. Margaret said if it hadn't been for Gregory, the house would have been torn down, because it was really slated for demolition.
Wow.
So we're excited that he had such a passion for history, that he would do the research and find this information out and save this house. And so we are really connected to the Fields family continually. And so we're just thankful for the opportunity to just share this history with our community.
Absolutely. And again, if you haven't seen the Fields House, James A. Fields House, you can go by there. It is an educational treasure. It is located in the city of Newport News. Just look up James A. Fields House for more information about that. I bring up the fact that he had purchased property as a newly freed slave because we talked with the Urban League, executive vice president of the Urban League, in the first half hour about home ownership and economic upward mobility, and how, it's so important, to have that home, to have that ownership of your home, of your business, and to also invest, because your home is the greatest single investment that an individual in this country will have. So the fact that you're keeping that dream alive, having that as a staple to show that it can be done, is a treasure to our area. Vice Mayor, as we continue to celebrate this Juneteenth holiday, right, this day, like you said, you guys have started it, back in 2006, pushing for recognition of this through Emancipation Day, and now what we see as Juneteenth, as it has grown. You actually started something last year through the city, a major push for Juneteenth. Tell us about that push to have the city of Newport News recognize and really put some money behind this thing.
Well, we're really excited because it was 2 years ago when our Governor Northam declared it as a state holiday that our city manager, Cindy Roth, and she is one of the best city managers that I've ever worked with before, but she was determined that the city of Newport News needed to recognize Juneteenth in a greater way. We had been supported in some ways for the festival itself, But she asked, how can we make it such that the whole city of Newport News recognizes what Juneteenth is all about? And so it was through her support, and because the Downtown Newport News Merchants and Neighbors Association was already preparing every year for the festival, that she trusted us to sit down and to work through a plan of what we could do citywide to make it people more aware. And so she trusted us, and so we were able to, and because Newport News is a very long city, we're 26 miles long, we wanted to make sure that it was very inclusive of the whole city. And so she allowed us to begin to plan activities for different age groups in different locations of the city, and to make sure that the theme of Juneteenth, unity in the community, to unify not just one portion of the city, but to unify the entire city and make the whole city aware of what Juneteenth is all about. And so our three pillars of Juneteenth are education, awareness, and commemoration. And so all of the events that we plan for, no matter what the age group is, we try to make sure that there's an educational component to that activity, as well as making people aware, but also commemorating what it's all about. And so we were able last year, through her support of giving us the opportunity to just, she said, plan it, execute it, implement it, and we work with our dedicated special event Department of Parks and Recreation to make it happen. And I tell you, we worked very well together last year. We had 7 days of events with free giveaways, Juneteenth giveaways for anybody and everybody in the city. And this year we extended it to 8 days.
Wow.
So we are on a roll, and we're excited that come Sunday morning, we will be executing the Juneteenth Freedom Festival. And actually, Dr. Eric, I'd just like to share that every Saturday, the National Juneteenth Observation Foundation, which was founded by Dr. Ronald Myers, they meet, and we have a robocall every Saturday at 1 o'clock. And we are able to hear what other people are doing across the United States. And it is amazing the different types of celebrations that are going on to commemorate Juneteenth. And so it's exciting that Newport News has this opportunity, and that we are making a footprint also in the history of Juneteenth for the city of Newport News and nationally.
Absolutely. It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville. For the entire month of June, we're continuing our Commonwealth Conversation series talking about Juneteenth, past, present, and future, here in the great region of Hampton Roads, in the great city, my city of Newport News, Virginia. My good friend, my colleague, the Vice Mayor of the city of Newport News, Dr. Saundra Cherry, is spearheading a week celebration, 8 days, as a matter of fact, of commemorating Juneteenth, education, awareness, and commemoration. You know, Saundra, we actually have worked together, like I said, on this. I've worked with you last year. I worked with our good friend Nathan, who is known in this area as Frederick Douglass.
Frederick Douglass, yeah.
You know,
yes.
and he has really been a treasure, you know, to this area as relates to history and interpretation of it, and his portrayal of Frederick Douglass, not just here, but all up and down the coast and across the country. But you know, we started last year, and you can go, everyone, you can go to the Newport News TV YouTube page and see all of this. Just put in Newport News Juneteenth, and they've got videos that are there. But we did a play. I would call it a play and a discussion, a conversation with Frederick Douglass last year, and that was phenomenal.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
You know, and there was a mural that was created. Who was that artist that created that mural?
That was Jerome Johnson, and he is a local artist. He lives in D.C. right now, but he is homegrown from Newport News, Virginia. He's home often. And so when we talked about having this Juneteenth conversation, you and I were talking, and I said, Doc, there were many people, there were several people who were along that, in that time frame, of Juneteenth and the Emancipation Proclamation, and they were born during that time in slavery, and we wanted to have this cloud of witnesses, and Frederick Douglass was just prime time for that. So it was so exciting for him to sketch it, sharing the vision. I said, this is what I see. We want this cloud of witnesses, and he took that vision and he ran with it. And I tell you, the canvas, we now use it for our Instagrammable moments for Juneteenth. So anybody that wants to take a picture with Ida B. Wells and W.E.B. Du Bois and William Steele and Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Booker T. Washington, all of them are portrayed in this great cloud of witnesses that Jerome was able to take from a vision to a sketch and now to a beautiful canvas that we use continually even this year for Juneteenth.
Absolutely. And it's expanded. So I want to talk about this year, what was started with Juneteenth. I want to go event by event here because all of this is phenomenal. You've got some people that have been working with you in your hard work throughout it. Of course, as you're running for mayor of the city of Newport News, you took a break for that to really key in on this. But I want to go event by event, and we'll conclude with what's happening today at King Lincoln Park. But the Juneteenth poster contest, this was March 31st through May 16th, where you had elementary and middle school students use their artistic talents to express their ideas, vision, thoughts about Juneteenth, the theme of liberty, freedom, and equality. And it concluded, posters were dropped off at Grissom Library, Main Street, and Pearl Bailey Library, Newport News. Tell us how that ended.
Oh, my gosh. I finally got the posters this morning. I was so amazed. And what's really great about this is that, as I said, we try to reach every age group in some way, shape, or form. And so we wanted to do the poster contest because we know kids have this thing about drawing. They want to draw. And so we wanted to see what they thought about the theme of Juneteenth and liberty, equality, justice, freedom. And so I received them today, and what I shared with a liaison from the association, I said, I do not want to touch them until someone else has judged them. And so our liaison went out into the community and let other residents see the posters, and they were the judges. And so I saw them today, and my mouth just flew open. I was like, amazement. I was just amazed at the beauty that our young people, that they were able to birth, and so we will now have that on display at the Down and Gross Cultural Arts Center, so people can see what our kids did for the poster contest. That was exciting. So their names will be announced. They will also receive prizes for participating, and it's all about participation. So we had even a second grader, and it was for third through the sixth grade, basically, and she wanted so bad, and I told her residential person, I said, go ahead and let her draw. And it's phenomenal that she drew something. And so we're going to recognize her because we don't want to stifle her gift. We don't want to stifle her excitement to learn more about Juneteenth. And so we're going to receive her drawing as well, her poster as well. And we're going to make sure we do honorary mention for her, but also gift her with something so she can continue her gift with drawing and posters and things like that.
That's awesome.
So that was the first thing. And so then after that, we did have giveaways. So Juneteenth giveaways are still available. The City of Newport News has been gracious to make sure we had Juneteenth yard signs made, so anybody can get a Juneteenth yard signs. And so those giveaways are still available. And then so on last Saturday, we had our inaugural Juneteenth parade. Phenomenal. We were just excited that we could just do it, and I tell you, the city departments worked together with us, with our vision, and they made it happen. And so I'm just so thankful that we had an opportunity to have the first inaugural parade on the peninsula for Juneteenth. We had more than 70-plus units in the parade.
Wow.
And Dr. Eric, it was great. We had a lot of fun, and they're already gearing up for next year. And I'm like, okay, we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So actually, we were scheduled to have a concert on Monday, but because of the rain, we had to cancel that. But
right.
on Monday, we had our Raising the Flag ceremony. And this is our second year of raising the Juneteenth flag at City Hall in Newport News. We recognized Juneteenth during that particular ceremony as Emancipation Day, Freedom Day, Juneteenth Independence Day, Juneteenth. And we were thankful this year that our Mayor McKinley Price, was able to be with us to read the mayoral proclamation proclaiming June 19th as Juneteenth Day in the city of Newport News. Wow. So that was very, very important for us. We had great attendance at that event. And then last night, we had our, I'm sorry, let me back up, because on Tuesday night, we had Juneteenth bingo. I mean, did we not have fun? I'm telling you, we have some bingo players in Newport News. And they had a ball, and we had wonderful prizes. And, you know, they did not want to stop playing. We had to tell them that we had to go. But they wanted to continue to play bingo. But we had a nice, refreshments and dinner for them, and we played bingo and had a good time. That was on Tuesday night. And then on last night, as you know, we had our Juneteenth debate. I tell you what, we had 8 youth from the community that came together, and they debated 2 Supreme Court cases, and they were excellent.
Yes.
They were excellent.
You know, those 2 cases, you and I, we worked on that, and I was excited to work with those students, first of all, some of the brightest and best Newport News public school students that I've
yes.
seen. And it was phenomenal. We thank the judges that were there as well, the practicing attorneys and the actual sitting judge that judged and all that participated. But they argued the cases, and they studied the cases of Plessy versus Ferguson and Brown versus Board of Education. And, of course, Nathan, also known as Frederick Douglass, did an opening for it to set the stage of the state of our country post-Dred Scott. And even though Frederick Douglass died before the decision of Plessy versus Ferguson, he knew what was happening. But it was great to see their trajectory of how they saw the world, see the world now, and we'll see it in the future. And I'm excited about our future because I'm excited about those kids.
Yeah, they were really excited, and even having them to share what that experience was like, to try to do the research and try to find reasons to be against it. They really were challenged with that. Yeah. But they were able to come through it and still present as if they were really defending affirmative or in opposition of. And so, yes, we do want to thank our judges, those who were participated. We had Judge Tynika Flight, we had Judge Sean Overby, and then we had our Deputy City Attorney, Darlene Bradbury, and then our City Attorney, Shannon Jones, with us. And so they were the judges. Again, I took my hands off of it because I wanted to make sure that it was done neutrally. And we thank them for their time to come and share. But our young people, they really were excited about it. And Dr. Eric, you know, they say they want to do it again. And I'm like, are you serious? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, let's talk about that some more.
That's right. Well, look, I'm glad they are because I put them through the ringer, so I was excited to see them.
Yeah, you did, and they stayed the course. They stayed the course, and they learned from it. And as they shared last night, they learned more about history. And I really think that this was an opportunity for them to get excited about history and about their own history and about the history of this country. And I think that that's what's really important. Sometimes our young people don't understand the struggle.
Right.
They don't have the background. I'm not sure how much of that is taught today, per se, in public schools. So my husband used to say, things that we teach our young people have to be beyond school doors.
That's right.
Because otherwise, they're not going to always be able to get what they need to know to be successful just in the schoolroom, in the schoolhouse.
That is right. Look, we've got a few minutes left here. I'm just going to run through a few things, but I want you to tell us about what's going on right now that's happening at King Lincoln Park from 12 noon to 4. Today, we thank you for taking our time to be on air with us because I know right now it's going down at Lincoln Park. But now that we had a debate yesterday at Demi Community Center on the 15th, actually. On the 16th, the Juneteenth spoken word, the Juneteenth mime on the 17th, Faces of Freedom at the Mariners Museum. Juneteenth Youth Field and Games took place right there at Riverview Farm Park, and along with the historical pageant just on last night, which was a virtual event shown on Newport News TV. So it was a lot of events leading up to today. So tell us a little bit about what's going on at the Juneteenth Freedom Festival right now at King Lincoln Park, located at 600 Jefferson Avenue in the great city of Newport News.
This is a great opportunity. This is our signature event that we have done since 2006. But this year, it's bigger and better. We had opportunity for vendors, people that were selling products and services, to be out to share what they have to offer to the community. We also have vendors, exhibitors. There are individuals who want to distribute information about things that are available in our community. And this is great fun for the whole community, for the whole city of Newport News. We have great entertainment. Different age groups are providing us entertainment. We have food trucks here. We have inflatables here. And so there is something for everybody. And so we just invite everyone to come on out, join us for Juneteenth Freedom Festival, because it's getting bigger and better every single year. And so, Eric, I just want to say thank you, Dr. Eric, for allowing me to come in and share about the great things that we have already done for the city of Newport News for June, and today, the culminating event of it all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And listen, I was there from the beginning, and I'm going to continue to partner with you because I believe in what you're doing as vice mayor. And also, I believe what you're doing when you become mayor of Newport News as well. So thank you again, my sister, for joining us here on Stay in the Water. For those of you that are listening, if you're on the south side, go over to Portsmouth at High Street Landing for the Juneteenth celebration there, where our very own DJ Scandalous will be introducing his good friends of Black Street. That's right, and many other talents located there. And if you're on the peninsula, go over to King Lincoln Park, where you can enjoy a lot of the festivities for this day that our vice mayor has helped to work with a lot of people to set up. It is our day, Juneteenth Freedom Day. Once again, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And we'll see you next week live once again as we conclude our Commonwealth Conversation series with Juneteenth celebration, past, present, and future. Until next time, God bless.